Hello and welcome to day 3 of the LEC Summer Playoffs. I'm Medic, this is Froskurinn, that's Vedius on the end, and we are here for Rogue versus Fnatic, and what a series it's going to be.
It's going to be a banger. I'm really excited. It's Rogue versus Fnatic, and based on what the fans said, they think it's going to be really close. But fans, I've got a bit of a reality check for you. Rogue is 1st seed, Fnatic is 4th, and that's kind of because of the points that they got last bit. They finished 5th! Like, Fnatic has not looked good. I think on paper, Rogue should be the clear favorites coming into this series, and based on Ender's prediction with the 3-0, I think that many analysts kind of believe that as well.
Which is why I think today is about faith. The Fnatic faithful have come out, they say, the playoff buff, the plot armor, whatever it's going to be, Fnatic, they can pull through it. Whereas on the other side for Rogue, at what point will European fans finally give them the benefit of the doubt that this wasn't just the one-hit wonder of taking first, that they are the real deal, and you have faith in them to represent Europe on a world stage and to take down Fnatic.
And although this series might not prove that in its entirety for Rogue, it is definitely a step in the right direction for them. They would lock one of the top 3 seeds to Worlds. We'll see if they can start it off with a win here.
So we have to talk about blue side, how powerful it's been. It's been powerful all weekend, all patch long, it feels like. And it's because of these bans right here. The Caitlyn is going to come out. Kalista is another champion that we expect to be banned. I did not, however, expect the Aphelios. Now, obviously, Hansalma's #1 played champion, 10 games on that. But that does mean that either Kalista or Lilia will get through, and Lilia was a big deal yesterday.
These bans, Shen and Gangplank, both taken off the board. Rogue saying, you, Bwipo, we've seen this before. We do not want you playing towards the bot side of the map. They're going to prioritize the Senna. With so many strong AD carries taken off the board. Notice that Kalista has been left open, and Rogue is saying, all right, Fnatic, do you play it? Will you challenge us? Because if it's a G2, if it's a Mad Lions, they insta-lock the Kalista here, but let's see what Rogue do.
I mean, we've only seen Hansalma play the Senna twice this split. Aphelios, as you said, Frosk is his most played. The Ashe is going to get locked in for Rekkles. It'll be the first time he plays that, and there's a Lucian alongside it.
Now, obviously, the Lucian is a flex pick. I don't assume that Ashe is a flex pick, but I've seen weirder things. I myself play Ashe support, so
Ashe,
maybe. But I do assume that that's probably going to be Nemesis' pick, or even possibly Bwipo's.
Blind Renekton on 3 as well. Like, oh, and the Evelynn install.
Oh my,
wow. Okay, there's a lot to think about here. Because we've got, so, first things first, the reason why I was scratching my head at the Renekton is because you've just seen a Lucian locked in. Remember that Lucian could be sent up to top lane, it can be played in mid lane. Like, you can send that Lucian into Renekton and you've got yourself a pretty good matchup. Unless Finn is saying, I feel pretty confident in that matchup. That's the only reason why I could think that. But also, we get to see an Evelynn. And notice that they've picked it here so they can ban away some of the potential bad matchups. They also have priority on locking in their support first rotation. So they're picking in a relatively safe spot. And we know that this is one of Selfmade's solo queue best most played champions as well.
I find it really interesting also the fact that they allowed the Tahm Kench to slip away from them. Obviously, the Senna Tahm Kench has been a big duo that we've seen down there. And like you're saying, to prioritize the blind Renekton when that is still a flex pick, I do suspect it's Nemesis' Lucian. And obviously, I think Rogue think that as well. I mean, when you ban Orianna, you know for a fact that Larssen's going to go into the Azir. So it's not like it was probably I wonder what he's going to be playing this time.
I do love this from Fnatic, though. They're picking 2 champions that were buffed on 10-16. They're bringing something a little bit unique to the table. And we always say in a best of 5, if you're gonna bring something surprising, do it in game 1. Bring out your haymakers. Try and put Rogue in the dirt right from the off.
And that's the question. You know, what is Fnatic's identity for playoffs? We heard it on the analyst test from Caedrel and Ender that everyone knows what Rogue's identity is. That's why they've been so successful and so consistent. But Fnatic have been struggling to figure out what they want. And the only kind of common thread has been a carry jungler. And like you were saying, Vedius, Selfmade is given all the tools to pop off on this eve.
So that is 4 top lane bans. Potentially 5 if you consider Lilia a top laner as well. And like 4 of them have come from Rogue. How deep is Bwipo going to have to go into his champion pool here? Because we see a wide array of crazy picks from him, but he's going to have to dig deep in order to challenge Rogue right now.
I think an issue as well is they need to find some sort of hard engage, because right now the only thing that you have is your bot lane with an Ashe arrow as well as a death sentence. So without having Ornn or Camille, what does Bwipo grab hold of to allow Fnatic to force engagements? I would think that that would be something like his Zac.
I think the Zac is definitely a possibility. Wukong is someone we saw fall out of the meta as well, who can provide at least some flank hard engage, and we have seen Bwipo play it already this split. Rogue will lock in the Nautilus to team up alongside the Senna, another quintessential pairing when you're picking the Senna, and now they'll be looking for their jungler. Still a lot of the traditional jungles left up and open here for Inspired.
So I would say Lee Sin, but Inspired isn't really a Lee Sin play. Wow, picking Sejuani into Eve. So my only concern here is one of the things about Eve is that she's very weak in the early game. You can typically, like many AP junglers, usually you want to try and attack them early because their skirmishing isn't that strong and you want to try and steal away the jungle camps. And Frosk, you mentioned the Olaf. That would have been more in the wheelhouse, not only for Inspired, but also if you want to try and shut down Evelynn.
Okay.
But it seems that Rogue is drafted a lot more for the team. Again, you know, we heard it from Caedrel. Inspired's the type of player that will play the tank, he'll play the carries, he'll do what the team needs, and they're saying they want a little bit more team fight power, and we are seeing traditional Rogue. You've got the straight front-to-back team fight, long-range DPS carries behind you, big, beefy front line. Renekton can also peel versus Fnatic, I feel.
So the thing is Fnatic can cause a lot of chaos with this draft, obviously, but they're missing a couple of key things, a couple of key tools. Number one, that reliable hard engage. It's just not there. And for a team that loves to skirmish and love to have scrappy fights, I feel like this draft is still really reliant on individual members of Fnatic really stepping up and popping off to allow them to have success with this.
I think their pick potential is pretty devastating, though. An arrow into an Eve, into an Urgot could do a huge amount of work. We'll see if Fnatic can bring something a little bit eclectic to the table here in Game 1 as Rogue try and take them down.
And obviously, as we finally take to the rift for Game 1, because Fnatic and Rogue are in the game, you have to talk about level 1s. Now, we have seen this iteration of the level 1 before throughout the LEC, placing that ward into the bot lane rush, seeing if you can find a pick there or catch people's movements, especially if they go for delayed invades. But otherwise, a standard 5-point from Fnatic. And I do want to point our attention towards the Eve and the Sejuani, because on the Analyst test, they were talking about the difference between these two junglers, Selfmade and Inspired, how Inspired is kind of the more flexible guy, but has usually been going towards the tanks. Selfmade, the very selfish jungler, the guy who is all about playing the carries. Graves' priority pick was such a big deal for Fnatic for the longest time, and now on something like his Evelynn, one of the champions that he's famous for in solo queue, and I feel like it's a perfect example of kind of the two different jungle styles that we're going to see in this game.
I think one of the really interesting stats that kind of ties into your point, Frosk, is the XP difference at 15. Notice how far ahead Selfmade is. This is why we kind of dub him as that selfish jungler. It's not really a negative term, it's more of just a play style where you as a jungler play very much for yourself rather than your laners. That doesn't mean he never ganks, that doesn't mean he doesn't try to work with his team, it's just that if he has the choice, he's going to focus on himself rather than someone else.
That ward already paying off.
He's been hooked and exhausted, has to burn the heals. That's two summoners down from the Fnatic bottom lane. They're going to try and chase onto Summer. Hylissang with the flay. Summer has to flash away.
Here's the big thing. As an Ashe, you want to trade hyper aggressively in lane because obviously her back timers, if she gets sent back early, it's not as punishing as a traditional ADC. Now, you could also maybe say the same for Senna, although she's not going to have as many battle stats. So that's why Rekkles and Hilly are going to be fine to be hyper aggressive in this lane and to really trade on their health because they can't really be punished for it.
I think also in that trade, so much focus went down onto Rekkles that Hylissang wasn't touched. So the moment a Rogue tried to disengage, Hylissang was more than confident to be like, I can go for this because I have such a massive health advantage. And he got that flay cooldown back up and they were in a very positive position. So what should have been a good start to the lane for Rogue has now swung in favor of Rekkles and Hylissang.
Yeah, and just to put the cherry on top, the fact that Hilly's playing with a whole other pot on top of Nautilus right now is going to be a big deal. So I expect Hilly and Rekkles to continue to be hyper aggressive here.
For the moment, Summer and VandeR will just be pushed underneath their turret. You can see Fnatic going to get this wave to crash as quickly as possible. A slight CS lead for Rekkles has been built up, and Summer once again just getting flayed away. Rekkles eats at the bad end of some damage there from Summer. I do want to look at the junglers as well, as we've seen Selfmade did a total topside clear, has now moved down towards the bottom side and is going towards his blue buff. Inspired actually pathing up towards top as the hook lands on VandeR, but VandeR should be fine.
That's actually a really good move from VandeR. Yeah, he's going to potentially lose his flash.
Coming out, he's going to flash away. Hylissang flashing forward. Rekkles going in as well, and Fnatic are looking for first blood. It's taken. Summer just can't do anything.
What started out as a really good play from VandeR, denying Rekkles and Hilly the free back, because what Rekkles wanted to get there was the cheater recall. Force the wave forward, then get back, get one of those item advantages, and continue to abuse Sama and VandeR in the lane. The issue was he was outplayed by Hilly, he got caught up into the CC, the big minion wave, and now is flashless in the lane.
Selfmade's also just hovering around the bot lane for now. Wants to make sure that Rekkles and Hylissang can push this wave in, but really good performance from Rekkles and Hilly. I do think the Ashe Thresh is one of the strongest 2v2s you can get in the current meta, and VandeR ends up overstepping, and Hylissang looks like he's showing up today in this 2 versus 2, and Fnatic already with a slight gold advantage towards the bot side of the map.
It's also a very big departure, as VandeR tries it again. A very big departure of what you normally see from Rekkles and Hilly. Usually, this is about unlocking Hilly on roam-oriented champions and Rekkles playing weak side. This time around, they are playing very strong side with the power duo of Ashe and Tresh.
Well, the cool thing about Hilly is he does the same thing pretty much every game. First back, level 3, level 4, he looks for a roam. He's already looking for the roam top as Rogue is looking to dive.
Inspire's going to try and turn on Selfmade, the flash away. Inspire chases in with a flash of his own. Finn's trading onto Bwipo, as you said. Hylissang's on his way up here. The Selfmade, the stun's going to land onto Selfmade as he tries to get away. Bwipo going in with the disdain, but he's taken down first, and now they're going to turn their attention over to Selfmade. The Evelynn's going to have to try and get away. The hate spike's raining hell upon Rogue. That's 2 for Selfmade, and the carry jungler is unlocked.
And the throwaway lantern from Hilly to be like, please give me an assist, I participated.
And Bwipo, he's not going to lose that much topside either, because he's going to TP back in, he's going to get all this farm, and this early game not going as planned for Rogue so far. I think Rogue really need to be afraid about the fact that this Evelynn just got 2 kills. Like, the level 6 mark is super scary for her, and now she's so much closer to it. Let's have a look back at how this replay actually unfolded.
It's also the fact that, like you said, Bwipo didn't really lose anything. So I think it's really just the amount of time that it takes. Finn, obviously, they're not focusing on the same target, so the CC goes down on Selfmade. Finn's forced to burn his flash to gap close, and then just chasing them around the walls. Lasts long enough that Hilly shows up just to get the assist, but that spike, the hate spike cooldown.
Yeah, there's the buffs coming into fruition right there. The Q cooldown reduction really being valuable for Selfmade, but I like the target focus from Rogue initially. Remember we mentioned that Evelynn, a very weak duelist early on into the game, and so trying to shut her down quickly, I think was the correct play, but Bwipo did a really good job of acting as interception, getting in the way, making it harder to just execute Selfmade, and Fnatic were able to get the turnaround. So all in all, Fnatic now sitting with a 1.2, 1.4k gold advantage, and this is kind of the best situation for them to be in this early game.
But this is classic Rogue. They immediately find their resets. They make sure that they have the priority in the lanes necessary, especially because Larssen's still on his Azir, and then immediately translate it into the Infernal Drake. Now, Rogue have some of the best early game stats of any team in the LEC, particularly around their objective control, and we should see a Herald swap around the 8-minute mark. And so Selfmade's ready, which he already has his completed jungle item. Maybe Rogue don't get that so much for free.
And that's the thing, now that Selfmade's 6 as well, he's going to have that invisibility. He's going to have the ability to get into some of these lanes and start picking people off. Because
he's dead.
As you say, Finn might just be dead here. He's going to get caught out by Bwipo. Selfmade going in. There's the charm. Dominus is popped, but he is bid beyond his death.
Okay, so both Selfmade and Bwipo used their executes onto Finn, and the only reason why Bwipo got that was because Finn became untargetable. Like, that's just overkill right there, but that's the power of Evelynn at level 6. Setting up those ganks becomes so easy, and now Rogue has this extra thing they have to be afraid of. Eve is so obnoxious to play against because she can show up anywhere at any time. You slightly over push a lane, Eve can show up. You try to push out a side, Eve can show up. So Rogue gonna have to be extra cautious moving forward.
And really, the guy who's at the most threat of that, if you actually look at their champions, is still always going to be Finn, at least for the time being on this Renekton. Still relatively difficult to gank or execute on the Azir due to his ability to dash away and force you back. And Nautilus and Senna with the ability to use Black Mist and just kind of disengage back into the lane. I expect them to continue to put the hurt on Finn, especially with the executes. That tankiness of the Renekton doesn't really matter.
For the moment, Selfmade is on the bottom side of the map. As you said, got that completed jungle item. Inspired has just finished his Cinder Hulk on his Stalker's Blade as well.
This should be the Rogue reset up for Herald.
That's what it's going to be. 2,000 gold lead for Fnatic. They do have the Scuttle Crab. Inspired on his way up to try and help out Finn, but you have to think if Fnatic were to catch wind of this, they could do something about it. However, with Selfmade being on the bottom side of the map, might be a little bit trickier, and I think Rogue should get this one pretty easily, even though there's a ward. Fnatic going down towards this bottom side. Actually, I love this from Rogue. Like, bringing Senna and Nautilus up because you know that Selfmade's on the other side of the map because he could go for a dive under this tower, accepting you're going to lose quite a few plates, but then trying to pressure on the top side of the map.
One of the differences, though, is that Rogue are a team that traditionally give Hansama the Herald. Obviously, it makes less sense this time around because he's not on a champion like Aphelios, he's on a champion like Senna, which means that this type of play isn't getting Rogue as much in this iteration of the game versus in their previous ones because Hansama isn't on one of those hyper carries. As they find Bwipo.
He's going to be stunned up here. The depth charge comes out as well, and I thought he was going to survive, but the Dawning Shadow says not today. Inspired gets the kill. Bwipo a little bit too close to the wall.
No flash available on Bwipo, and as you mentioned, there were very few options there for Bwipo to get out. I think that he thought he was safe walking through his half of the jungle, wasn't expecting the Rogue members there, and Rogue looking to secure themselves the first tower of the game.
I actually think it's just a huge mistake. Bwipo should have expected them there. You saw that they weren't there bot lane. You know that they're probably going to rotate up for the Herald. He should have expected 4 members to be hunting for him, and Bwipo should have just disengaged off that tower much earlier.
We do see the gold being given over to Hansama, who was about 500 gold behind, and now with that Rift Herald going in, Hansama's actually equalized the gold with the Rekkles in the bottom lane. Rekkles, of course, unable to work through all of the tower plates in the same amount of time as it takes for the Herald to charge in. So we see Rogue trying to claw back some of this disadvantage. They're about 2,000 gold behind just a moment ago. Now back within 1,000, and we're getting up towards that 10-minute mark, which means that second dragon's going to spawn soon.
Yeah, Medic, this is what we call a sad top laner game, where top laners don't really get to play League of Legends. You'll notice that both top laners right now are sitting at 60 CS at 10 minutes. Now, I'm not going to say that that was their fault, because it definitely wasn't, but a lot of action has happened towards the top side of the map.
Bwipo missed one there.
Yeah, he did. That was his fault.
That was 100% his fault.
Well,
Come
his
on,
wave
mate.
is also going to slowly build and push back.
Oh, got that one?
The benefactors of the top lane are struggling have been both junglers. You'll notice that Selfmade already level 9. Selfmade is actually the highest level in the game matched to Larssen. Like, that is insane. What? He's already picked up a needlessly large rod. All right, Selfmade, I see you. I'm really curious as to what he does with this itemization. Will he go for the straight death cap, or will he go for something like the Spellbinder, maybe get that extra bit of movement speed? Right now, he's hovering around the bot lane. He has his eyes on Hansama.
Hansama has cleansed, has flash. Selfmade dives in. Hansama has no chance.
I see that you cannot flash or cleanse the damage.
Oh, yeah, that's every solo queue player has experienced that once before.
Okay.
Literally everyone.
TP top, TP top.
Larssen's looking for the flank position here on Bwipo. Bwipo does have the flash. The Emperor's Divide is available for Larssen as he tries to chase out the Urgot. Going in, going forward. Bwipo still trading. VandeR stepped way too far forward here as Rekkles took down the tower and takes down VandeR's life. Bwipo will pay for it in the top lane as Finn just needs a one last slice or dice. And he's actually trying to wait for Larssen to get the kill. Arcane Comet misses and Finn takes it in the end.
That was awkward, but in any case, that is 1 kill for 1. It was a good ultimate from Inspired to interrupt the TP from Nemesis so that he could not join that top lane fight. But curious as to what VandeR was doing in the bot lane. Yeah. Maybe when we get a replay, we can see exactly what was happening there, because that is a big mistake, and Rekkles and Hylissang are now only getting further ahead as Fnatic secured their first trade again.
I'm going to call it a whoopsies. It was kind of awkward.
I mean, we've seen a few whoopsies from the bot lane from Rogue so far in this game.
I'll give Hansama the pass, though. He was like, I'm going to get hit by the Ashe arrow. I just got to flash it, got to cleanse it. I'm ready.
The Evelynn play definitely not his fault. Finn now looking for a play topside. Selfmade is here.
Gonna land that first bit of damage, but the stun comes out immediately on Selfmade. He can't survive. He's not tanky enough. He has a needlessly large rod. He doesn't have any resistances. And the body, the corpse of Evelynn lies on the ground as the Fear Beyond Death comes out. Nemesis chasing up towards the top lane. Haven't really talked about the mid lane too much this game because they haven't really been involved. But here comes Nemesis. Finn gonna dice and slice his way back, but he will fall. Crocodile shoes are going to be made tonight.
You know, I think that pip was personal. Really don't think the observers like, because they've experienced enough Evelynn in their time. But that was a really good chain CC coming out from Rogue, locking down Selfmade, preventing him the opportunity to use that ultimate. And notice that Inspired is actually caught up in experience now. Level 9 to level 9, they needed to slow that Evelynn down, and they've done a great job of doing that. But Fnatic still largely in control. They're able to get that kill onto Finn.
Oh, the
They're
arrow!
Still about 2.5k gold up, and now they have the right set on Hansama. As you notice there, Frosk, the arrow does not quite connect onto Hansama.
Okay, I'm a big Ashe player. I get very excited. Not so much about EU Ashe. Very excited about Rekkles Ashe, however. So I'm just like, I'm all about these arrows and these snipes. What I was about to do, though, is really compliment Rogue. Outside of kind of running it down bottom that they did, they've been really good on their reset timers and making sure that they're kind of wasting a lot of Fnatic's like setup time. Because there's been multiple instances, like what Rekkles was trying to set up there, where you see Selfmade running towards someone and then connecting it with the arrow, that they haven't really gotten to use the Ashe Evelynn combos effectively. And that's because Rogue usually don't put themselves in danger. They very much are like, did we get what we want on the map? If not, just back. Now they're finding Nemesis.
Logged onto the Glacial Prism, pops the culling, of course, was buffed on 10-16, but here comes Selfmade, here comes the rest of Fnatic. Finn and Inspired have overstepped. There's one, there's two. Hylissang takes one, and Nemesis gets the second.
You're welcome, Fnatic fans. I just single-handedly rogue or caster cursed Rogue right there.
That was really cool.
They're so good at playing defense.
Oh, Hook now lands on the VandeR, forced the flash out. Ultimate, a little late there from Hylissang, but you know what? Fnatic aren't going to be too upset about that one. What I think was really impressive with what Nemesis did was Nemesis assumed he was safe because his team was on the bot side of the map. They were pushing into the enemy jungle. Might not have time as Larssen and Bwipo in a 1v1.
Empress Divider's going to knock Bwipo away. Fear Beyond Death flashed away there by Larssen.
Selfmade though.
Yeah, Bwipo used it because he knows that Selfmade's on his way. Larssen trying to use his tower or not. Run to the tower, Larssen!
Spike comes out, he dodges away. Bwipo's going to take a lot of damage from the Sun Disc, and the TP target is there for Rogue. Selfmade and Bwipo will just retreat. However, it looks like that might be a little bit of a collapse as VandeR's on his way up. Instead, just going to go for the Rift Tower. I do just want to mention, like, Fnatic have slowly been ticking over the kills, slowly been getting advantages in this game. They are 4,300 gold up at the 15-minute mark. Like, traditionally, they are 29 gold up at the 15-minute mark across the regular season. This is a very different look for Fnatic.
At least they're having a good game. They're playing a lot of hit-and-run League of Legends. You got Evelynn, you have no idea where she's going to pop up. Rekkles can be really safe. He's basically just, like, parked himself here in the mid lane, and obviously, if he has Thresh behind him with the Dark Passage, he can contest with that mid-priority, whereas Rogue have gone into full give Larssen every single piece of farm, so much so that he was actually farming enemy Croak now. And at this point, Rogue are like, okay, we have fallen behind, we need to slow things down, we got great scaling, get Larssen out into every free minion wave, and then just start funneling him into 2 to 3 items, and then we'll take our chance again.
So, I kind of want to come back to something that we three were talking about before this cast, which is, how do you deal with Larssen? Right? Because for those that don't know, Larssen's statistically the best mid laner in the league. He was our second All-Pro, I believe, just behind Caps. You know, no shame, losing to Caps. But this man has had a fantastic split and has grown a lot as a player. And we questioned, how do they deal with him when it feels like there's such a big mid differential between Nemesis and Larssen? Selfmade, Evelynn, that's how you deal with him. Because when G2 were able to take down Rogue, what
just the invisible
Jankos
pressure
did was on that Kha'Zix, every single time he would dive on top of Larssen and split him off from his team. You don't need to split him off. You just need Selfmade to be strong enough to one-shot him and then just run away. So if you can just execute Larssen in every single fight, I think that is going to be Selfmade's plan. And when we talk about the star carries of both these teams, I think that it's fair to say you kind of look at Selfmade based on this split, you look at Larssen, and I think that this is going to be a battle of those star players, especially here in Game 1.
It's already going that way, and what I love is Selfmade going down this pure AP route as well. He's going rapid on second item because you have 3 physical damage dealers on the rest of your team. You've got an Urgot, you've got a Lucian, and an Ashe. So you can see Larssen saying, well, I kind of need some armor. I kind of need some way of stopping this physical damage going through, and so he can't itemize against Selfmade. Bwipo here flashes away from the Glacial Prism, and should just be able to walk back underneath this tower. The chase is still on him. Actually, with the hook coming out, that will be a very dead Urgot.
I mean, while all this is happening, though, Bwipo's probably in comms like, this is fine. They just traded me for the second mid tower.
Also, Drake also went over in favor of Fnatic. Like, Fnatic are playing the map very well right now, punishing any play that Rogue tried to make. And this is a 6K gold lead, 17 minutes into the game. You know, a lot of Fnatic fans were like, the Fnatic playoff buff, it's going to happen, you gotta believe. And maybe we're starting to see it here for Fnatic right now. You know, I said Rogue should be the clear favorites. They ended first at the end of the regular season. They beat Fnatic twice during the regular season, but Fnatic seem to have found their form coming into Game 1.
I think the question is, you know, does Selfmade get to play Eve again after this? Like, will Rogue, like, how many iterations of this Fnatic do you have as you continue into the best of 5 series? I mean, and can Fnatic close on this?
That was gonna be my question, because like I've seen Fnatic with leads like this before, Frosk, and like the Baron is where my big question mark comes round, because especially with this comp, like when you have 280 carries, you do take Baron relatively quickly, but you don't have a dedicated tank. Tresh can soak it up. Maybe Bwipo can also soak it up. But I think that Baron is going to be a big point of contention. Maybe Fnatic will try to snowball a victory so that they don't need it, but that's why I'm still keeping my eyes on.
I just feel like right now, Fnatic are playing better as individuals. Like, if you know Rogue are a great team, just never play them as a team. This is very much everyone's diving in, small skirmishes everywhere, and then just attacking the map collectively, while Rogue are really struggling to get bundled together to have a strong 5v5. Now, obviously, Rogue still have time to do that. Because the Dragons are split, it's not like Fnatic got a stacking or a Drake run there, so there's no threat of the Soul or the Elder just yet. And the Baron just about to spawn in a single minute. So Rogue may get their chance to finally become that death ball that their composition will really thrive in, and can Fnatic continue to create chaos across the map?
I think that's just traditionally been Rogue's style across the course of this split. I do want to just bring to everyone's attention the reason that we keep talking about Larssen as this, team fight god, his ability to carry on the Azir. He wins most of the games he plays on this champ. Like, he's won 9 of the 11 games he's played, because when it comes to team fights, when it comes to positioning, when it comes to outputting the DPS, he is the man you can rely on. The question is, will he be given that opportunity in these fights versus Fnatic?
And here's the thing, like, I'm not a huge stats fan, because I feel like if you're on the team that finished first, you probably have great stats no matter what the champion is. But they finished first because of Larssen. Like, that's the big thing that I really want to underline. If there is a superstar on Rogue, it's Larssen in the making. Otherwise, Rogue are a great team that are more than the sum of their parts.
I've actually just realized a pseudo buff to Rogue here. It's Cloud Soul. You know what that means? More of those sweepers, more of the scrying blooms. You know what that means? They can spot Selfmade more. Because if you pop it, it spots the Eve even if she's in stealth. That's actually super cool. It's not often that you see Cloud Soul actually have an impact on the game.
Fair.
Yeah.
Well, sorry, because I thought Scryer's Bloom was the Ocean Soul one. That's why I was processing in my head, but it's the health one.
You couldn't see it. Vedius and I were exchanging different.
I was thinking, I was like,
okay, guys.
This is what we
I'll do it in color caster terms.
Yeah.
You see the little vision planter boy? Like, when you hit that, you then see the Evelynn.
Sight things. No, you're right. That's a great point, Medic. I like that. Thanks.
Everyone at home understood me. Thanks, guys.
I mean, so the downside for Rogue is Evelynn now runs faster.
That is true. That is true.
And I'm just saying, like, Evelynn was already scary. The fact that she can now run even faster, no bueno. No. Selfmade.
Pros and some cons.
Yeah. Speaking of Selfmade, looking for the pick, does have the Rabadon's death cap. 3-1-3, level 12. Having a pretty stellar game. Of course, Nemesis kind of like silently sitting at level 14, been pretty much playing a side lane. No one can match him on a side lane, which is something where Fnatic can basically just play all 3 lanes at once. If they want, right now they're playing more of a 4-1, as Nemesis knows that no one's on his side of the map, so he's playing a little bit more defensively, as Fnatic's looking to get good vision around Baron.
Here's the thing, as soon as that Drake pops, if you have multiple members of Fnatic pulling Rogue to them, Nemesis can actually just walk to the Drake and take it himself. In fact, I think that's what he's going to do.
So I just want to highlight, if we can very quickly hover over Nemesis, what he's doing on the minimap is he will wait for his team to like push into one wave, and then he will try and sneak in behind teams as they then approach the wave to clear it out, so that he can catch stragglers as they go to get that last minute CS. And I think the Rogue is playing around it very patiently, very smartly, and they recognize we have to be super careful. Unless we're getting a full-on 5v5 team fight, we can't afford to just aimlessly walk out of our base like so many solo queue teams would and fall prey to this Evelynn.
And no one knows that better than Inspired, who has basically been on bodyguard duty for Hansama for the longest time. Now, he has moved away from his AD carry for the time being because he was helping get deep wards over Baron, including the Baron Gate ward. And that's because the Soul is now spawning in 5 minutes. Baron is now up. Rogue, no, they have run out of time. Like, you have maybe 5 to 7 minutes to funnel as much farm as possible onto Larssen, and then you have to gear up and find that big 5v5. That is Rogue's next move.
And even if you're trying to funnel Larssen as you have been for the last few minutes, you can see Nemesis, Rekkles, both have more CS than him. Both are sitting at 2 items, almost both at their infinity edges as well. These two are going to hit like trucks. It's not only Selfmade you have to look for now as the arrow goes wide on VandeR, he flashes it. It's not only Selfmade you have to worry about. You have to worry about these unchecked AD carries just shredding through your front line.
Right now, Fnatic's fetting up around the Baron. The ultimate going to be used from Hansama. Fnatic actually looking for a pick. I think one of the biggest things that Rogue have been put behind on is actually the Senna stacks. Hylissang's only at 39 stacks right now, which is really delaying some of the Senna power that she gets. As Fnatic are going to rush this one down.
They're going to shred it.
Yep.
You have two AD carries and Urgot and Evelynn. This is going to be gone before Inspired can get anywhere near it. The teleport's going to come out, but Rogue, yeah, just too little too late. Glacial Prism.
This is 5v5.
There's the depth charge. Rekkles going to flash to the back of the pit, but here comes Larssen. In goes the Emperor. Down he goes straight away. His bodyguards did nothing for him as Rekkles goes on a killing spree. Summer's going to take him down, though. VandeR chased away. He's dead. Only Summer and Inspired survive.
And huge power move for Fnatic. You already talked about how much they were going to shred through the Baron. The teleport now coming up behind them as they are on the hunt. That was a 5v5 window that Rogue had, but they got there too late, didn't have the correct positioning, lost the big team fight, and lost the Baron.
With those death timers, Fnatic is very likely going to secure themselves an inhibitor. They're looking to push in top. The TP is going to come through from Bwipo after his reset. I think it would be dangerous for Fnatic to try and end the game right now. I think they should just, okay, they're going to play even safe. They're not even going to risk an inhibitor. They're just going to take the tower, reset, disengage. But they played that fight extremely well, and Larssen, it felt like he was in a position where he felt like he had to carry.
Yeah.
He dived into the pit. He was like, let's kill Ashe. Maybe with her dead and with Nemesis split off, we can win. But you saw what Selfmade is able to do to this Azir. The moment he was in range, he just one-shot him, absolutely obliterated. And of that, it was a one-team fight for Fnatic.
Rogue have one last chance, one last fight. You have to think in 2 minutes around that Cloud Soul. Larssen has just completed his Rabadon's death cap, so he does do a lot of damage on this Azir, but once again, you have to look at the other side of the coin, and you have 2 Infinity Edges complete. You've got a Rabadon's and the jungle item on Selfmade. He's building up towards his next item. Like, it's no longer just a single carry threat for Fnatic, and with a 9,000 gold lead, Fnatic would, anyone would be hard-pressed to say they're not going to win, because, wow, okay, that was unexpected. Selfmade gets one, he's looking for two. The charm's going to go out on VandeR. Here comes Rekkles and TP coming in. Fnatic aren't going to give them their final chance. With a minute on the clock, they can look to end the game right here, right now. 3v5 in favor of Fnatic. The culling goes wide, but Rogue are forced away from their Nexus towers. And in 25 minutes, Fnatic are looking to close this one out. Finn dives onto the backline, but he is done for. Inspired, pulled back into the jaws of death. Bwipo happily accepts the kill. And the Fnatic buff, well, it seems to be well and truly alive as they take down Rogue in game 1.
That's the thing. It's only game 1.
Yeah.
But I think you can feel it. Everyone's like, oh no. Oh no, they're going to do it again.
I mean, what's really... So I think there are a couple things. Number one, Fnatic, great to see them going back to... I'm going to call them comfort picks in that we see, like... We see the Urgot from the top lane from Bwipo. We see the Evelynn for Selfmade. It's not something that they typically play on stage, but they played it very well. I think we saw great individual performance, but also Rogue, like the 2v2 bot lane, uncharacteristically poor. Finn got punished multiple times, and Larssen, he was put in this position where he felt like he had to carry, and then those team fights, or that one team fight that Rogue only got around the Baron, he just wasn't able to execute. So I feel like Rogue need to shake off the rust a little bit, you know, because we know they have the mechanical prowess to go toe-to-toe with Fnatic, but Fnatic definitely came to play in game 1.
I feel like it's problem-solving 3 things. Solving the Azir problem, punishing Finn, and getting priority in bot lane. That was like what Fnatic did, and I think that's what they'll continue to do for the series.
Well, after the break, the Analyst is going to tell us all about that game 1, so don't you go anywhere. That's how you do it, Frost.
I couldn't do it.
Here's a reminder that I'm still here. At least recognize that I'm top tier. Respect from the fans, it's all they cheer. Fnatic is the name that you will fear. 200 years to close out a game. I thought for a second OG was your name. You do like objectives, you don't like to fight. Wanna bore us to death, or is it just spite?
Charged up. Hello, everybody. Let the game begin.
have a chance against me. I can calculate 90 trillion moves in advance. Not fair. Not fair.
Red Bull gives you wings.
Welcome back, everyone, to the Analyst desk, where the Fnatic playoff buff is activated. They start the series with a convincing win. Wrong again next to me.
Look, I said they needed to prove it, and they proved it in game one. I'm back on the hype train.
Okay, a lot to talk about here in Picks and Bans. Let's pull up the draft order. First up, praise where praise is due. Caedrel said it. The Evelynn is going to come out, and immediately it does. And what did it mean for the Fnatic comp?
Yeah, I mean, they pick Ashe Lucian in the 1-2, so they need some AP damage in the jungle for sure. The Lucian was just a blind pick, so that's something they definitely planned. And then the Evelynn comes out on 3. I think both these junglers are insanely good Evelynn players, so I was really expecting it after the buffs. But I think Rogue's comp overall, if you look at it, it's such a good team comp. You know, team is the key word. They fit so well together, and they have really good spikes in early, really good spikes in late.
Yeah, effectively Rogue drafted for that holistic 5v5, whereas Fnatic were drafting purely for like their lane matchups, right? So with an Ashe, with a Lucian, you're securing yourself push advantage so that Evelynn can freely farm and so she can pick up Scuttle Crabs and fast track her way towards level 6. If you look at in the full 5v5, it makes less sense, but when it comes down to 1v1, 2v2, and those smaller skirmishes, that's where you have a huge lead.
Would you say that is then a good adaptation to what they've learned from themselves in the last couple of weeks? Because we talked in the pregame about how it's all kind of every man for himself and go in and pick what you like and whatever. But in this case, the tree pushing lanes really benefits Evelynn as well. So it seems like they figured something out there to me.
Yeah, I think this is sort of exactly the type of style we were expecting to see from Fnatic and executed to pretty much the best way you can, funneling early kills onto the Evelynn, getting 2v2 kills in bottom lane. So this is what we've seen from Fnatic by large, and all the players stepped up too, which is critical to a comp like this, because if a few players don't pop off in lane, then all of a sudden you're going to get outscaled.
Yeah, I think that's like Sjokz mentioned. I think this is the good thing about their comp. They have 3 pushing lanes and an Evelynn, so it's really hard for Inspire to punish the Evelynn, and the fact that she can full clear and get a double clear in the early game is just so good for her.
Yeah, talk me through Evelynn then. In a normal situation, what is your early game plan?
So Evelynn just basically wants to full clear and then full clear again, get the 6 as fast as possible. But if you watch on this replay here, I think that Finn and Inspire are looking for a dive here. I'm not sure if they saw Selfmade, but they instantly turn on him. I think Finn could have flashed a lot earlier, but he uses his W on Urgot, which is really crucial. But he does flash on him now. If he had the W, Selfmade would be dead. I think that Finn and Inspired were really split, but Selfmade kites him out really well. Hylissang comes in because of the bot waves being frozen, and yeah, Evelynn picks up a double kill at minute 4.
Yeah, I mean, because if they're instantly able to jump on Selfmade, he goes down, it's going to be a completely different story. Selfmade obviously then turns this, I mean, just look at the one-shots. Like, the champion so early on is able to come online, and like, that obviously is a much better performance of Evelynn than I think anyone is realistically supposed to see because of the 2 kills that they got in the top lane early. So I think if Rogue are coming into the next game, they're not necessarily thinking Evelynn was the problem, but there are very clear points in which they failed in the game.
Yeah, it did work out. Talk me through if Selfmade followed all the steps that you're used to in terms of runes and itemization.
Yeah, I think the electrocute was really good. I think that his itemization was crazy. He went with the jungle item into sock shoes, so he had lots of magic pen, and then instantly into the Rabadons. As you can see, the runes there, I think sudden impact, all the runes are perfect. I mean, you could argue Futures Market could be a good pickup, but the fact that you get the double kill early is just fantastic. I mean, the Cosmic Insight comes in well, and then, like I said with the items, you got the magic pen from W, you got the magic pen from Boots, you got a Rabadons. What more do you need?
What more do you need? We saw, especially near the middle of the game there, he would just one-shot everyone. But now I want to kind of look at the middle of this game, because obviously this was going to snowball out of control from the side of Fnatic. But you did see that Rogue, they tried to pick up their objectives where they could. What could they have done?
Well, I mean, honestly, they were down like 4,000, 5,000, 6,000 gold. Like, it was really tough for them. So they had to sort of draw the line because there was a Dragon Soul coming up. Fnatic were threatening around the Baron. So Rogue decided to say, hey, we actually need to contest Fnatic around this Baron. But I think the problem for Rogue is that it ended up being split up into a couple of fights, I think, with like Finn 1v1ing Nemesis towards the top end.
Yeah, I think a big problem for Rogue this game was mid-prio. I think that Rekkles and Hylissang always had mid-prio. They tried to make a play top, they're always collapsing first. They tried to make a play on Nemesis bots. Hylissang and Rekkles always collapsing first. So they made plays over side with no mid-prio, which wasn't really what they needed. They needed team fights, 5v5s, but they were always outnumbered on their own plays.
Well, it seems like it's a bit out of character for Rogue, I would say. And I know, I mean, this is the first game of a series which is so important, and Fnatic really blew them away. And they made some also poor choices, I think, in that first double kill in the top lane. Things I do not necessarily think we're going to keep seeing.
Yeah, so the thing with Rogue is usually the way their games pan out is like early game goes well for them, they build up a big lead, and then mid game after the first outer ring of turrets go down, that's where things stall out, and they usually wait until Larssen gets 3 items before they really go for those big team fights. But because Fnatic got out to an early lead, I feel like Rogue almost felt sort of rushed. They were starting to get beaten. VandeR kept getting caught out by Hylissang, and that was a big problem for them.
It definitely was. Let's take a look at the Baron then. Fnatic realizing, hey, we can burst this down quite easily, and then gearing up for the fight, which didn't work out too well.
Never mind. Watch Selfmade one-shot Hansama again.
Yeah, I think the Evelynn was a big problem in this game, just watching at the one-shots, but I don't think that Rogue should read into it too much. I don't think they should think that Evelynn is the problem that they were facing throughout the entire game. I think just individual mistakes and execution was the main problem. I think that Inspired could be the one picking up the Evelynn as well, but Selfmade does look really strong as Evelynn, so it's something to be concerned about. I'm not sure if it's ban-worthy just yet, but yeah, Rogue, they need to wake up and set
They're
up.
totally gonna panic ban it. Like,
you think so?
I don't know. I mean, this is one of those things where you're like, we just don't want to deal with it anymore. I do also want to kind of, okay, Rogue, jitters, maybe not the best play, but great play out of the individuals of Fnatic. And I think, especially in the context of how we've been speaking about them, some members really showed up in this game.
The major performer was Hylissang, all the way from bot lane right at the start of the game, because we talked about the top lane double kills, but it was actually Hylissang who started off, and they got that 2v2 kill against VandeR. Then his hooks were a big problem for VandeR later on, continually catching him out, burning his flash, getting kills. It really did snowball, and his roaming paid off big time.
Yeah, I think VandeR made a big mistake in the early double kill, the solo kill in bot. I think Hylissang, they got the first blood. Hylissang, saw him in the top play. He just arrived a little bit late. He was around the map. He used the mid prow so well. Rekkles pushed in. Hylissang was always hovering to the sides, which needed help. And I really think he played super well when it comes to just helping his team. And Rekkles did a pretty good job as well.
Yeah, I think the duo as a whole is really solid. One thing I did love was seeing Hylissang find windows where he sort of desynced his reset with VandeR on the other side so that he could find these free roams that VandeR was just sitting in bot lane and couldn't really match out. And it's those types of plays that make Hylissang such a great player when he's able to find those kills in mid lane or top lane.
Yeah, exactly. And if you get that Hylissang for 3 games in a row, you're probably going to win a series, but it's never sure if that is what's going to happen. So what do you think now with Rogue going on blue side in game 2 for Fnatic? Expecting some things to get banned out or it's switched up, or do you think they're going to go for a general similar style of getting a pick for Selfmade that can get the team ahead, pushing lanes and push it through like that?
Yeah, I think blue side is definitely the strongest side on the meta because blue side is 3 target bans. You can essentially ban out whatever you want, whenever you want. So, like you said, they could ban out the Evelynn target ban. I think that banning out Nemesis or banning out Bwipo could be useful. Maybe even force Rekkles on an uncomfortable AD carry if they ban out AD carries. But I expect them to first pick a really strong AD carry like the Senna they did this game, or even a Kalista if it's open. But I think that just shutting down some of these individual champions that Fnatic are pulling out is a good start.
Yeah, I think one thing we could see too is a little bit of a departure if Inspired wanted to go something like the Set that has maybe a little bit more early playmaking on his own with the Azir, because in this draft, the Sejuani, because in this draft, I don't feel like Inspired has a ton of options early on. Like it's usually just going to be scaling, and I think playing around top lane was the one window to do that. So I feel like Inspired, he could go back to the Sejuani. I wouldn't have a problem with that, but I wouldn't be surprised to see him try another tank.
It's quite a tricky one when I look at it from Rogue's perspective, I gotta say, because you guys said it as well when the draft came out. This is a great draft. This is a great team fighting draft, and I would be afraid if Rogue just, go for a complete departure right now. I don't think they will, but it is a bit of a mind game there coming out of that Fnatic.
Yeah, I definitely don't want them to read into it too much. I think their drafts are good. Their play is a bit off, I think, in terms of individual performance. You saw the top jungle misplayed on the double kill for Selfmade. VandeR misplayed in the early kill in bot. I think Larssen was holding his own up against Nemesis. He was struggling a bit, getting pushed in here and there, but I don't want him to read into it too much. Don't ban out too many things. Don't be too scared to keep what you're doing. Keep with the comps, and I think that a comp like this, anything similar is really good. Just a teamfight comp, something they're comfortable with, and just don't let the game snowball too hard.
Don't let it snowball too hard. It's easier said than done. We just said it. We just saw it on the Evelynn as well. Ender, again, you were forced to change your prediction because you said 3-0 for Rogue.
Come on.
What can you give me?
I mean, I actually really liked what I was seeing from Fnatic overall. Before the series started, I said Fnatic haven't proven that they can play at this level to me yet. So seeing this in game 1, it was a good sign. I still think I'm leaning towards Rogue overall, but I could see this going the distance to 5 games.
All right, let's see. Fnatic, they kick things off with a dominating win, so we'll see if they can go 2-0 when we return.